Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
That's what I'm talking about. Today's guests, including Ross Tucker, standing by, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Book your next corporate or private event at the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. It's in Parksville. Whether it's a small, intimate event or a large gathering of up to 100 guests, the Bayside is ready to accommodate. Choose from their extensive banquet menu created by their talented chef. The guy's got game, Rick. With focus on fresh, seasonal ingredients. Call 250-248-8333 or visit BaysideResortParksville.com. We're joined now, and there's breaking news in the NFL, by the way. Joined now by Ross Tucker from the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, CBS Sports, and Westwood One. Ross, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Great. How you guys doing?
Good. Very well. So much to talk about. If I'm not mistaken, you did the game in Buffalo. Bills being upset by the Broncos 24-22. I mentioned breaking news. We found out a few moments ago that the Bills have fired offense coordinator Ken Dorsey. Do you understand why?
Yes, I do understand why. Primarily because they had to do something. Yeah. And Sean McDermott is the head coach and the defensive coordinator, so he's not going to fire himself. So I think that's probably the biggest reason, to be honest with you. I mean, look, I don't think the Bills are reaching their potential on the offensive side of the ball, and they are turning it over too much. But, man, you look at that game last night, is it Dorsey's fault that Gabe Davis is letting the ball go through his hands for an interception for Josh Allen? Is it Dorsey's fault that James Cook gets the ball ripped away, or that Latavius Murray, as well as Dalton Kincaid, had drops? Is it Dorsey's fault at the end of the game? Did Dorsey call the all-out blitz that led to the pass interference against Taron Johnson, that led to the Broncos being in field goal range? Was it Dorsey who had 12 guys on the field on the last special teams play? So this is the way the NFL works. I do think his unit was underperforming a little bit, so I'm okay with the firing, but a lot of times these guys are like sacrificial lambs, and they fire them because they got to do something.
Yeah. We saw a Grey Cup game not that long ago. Too many men on the field. Saskatchewan losing to Montreal. I think it was the first time I saw it. I thought it would be the last time I saw it at the pro level. Anyway, that happened yesterday with Buffalo. It led to the game-winning field goal. When's the last time you saw that, Ross?
Never. And I said that last night, and I had multiple Saskatchewan Roughrider fans or CFL fans that replied to my social media post at Ross Tucker NFL and said, "Oh, I saw it. Rough Riders for a championship. Rough Riders." So that would have been a real good one for you to let me know ahead of time, Rick. Thanks, man. I was kind of on live national radio. I mean, you're so worried about the East Coast Hockey League, which isn't even at the AHL level, that you couldn't say, "Hey, Ross, quick text like,
next time,
hey, this actually happened, Rough Riders for the Grey Cup a couple years ago."
Next time. Shame on you.
It really is. I've never seen it, and I was doing the game last night with Kevin Harlan, who's, I don't know, in his 60s, and he's done a ton of games, and he's never seen it either. I mean, that whole scenario was wild. I was really surprised that the Broncos, by the way, this is a Princeton shirt, not a Broncos shirt. I just realized I'm wearing orange here. But the Broncos, I was surprised they went with the fast field goal or Mayday situation. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that they needed to do that. I thought that was a little bit extreme, and it didn't work. The guy missed the kick, but it did work because the Bills had 12 guys on the field, and he got a chance to kick it again. I mean, the Broncos missed 2 extra points and a chip shot field goal and still won the game.
Hey, Ross, you and I've said there's a lot to talk about regarding that game, and you mentioned your Princeton orange T-shirt. You tweeted out about your friendship with dman Leech, president of the Denver Broncos. You guys go back to your days in Princeton. What can you tell us about him?
Well, and first of all, he's from Bellingham, Washington?
Right down the street here. Yeah.
I was there yesterday, Ross.
That's where Damani's from. It's interesting because he was a senior at Princeton when I was a freshman, and he'd already been a 2-time first-team All-Ivy League player.
There you go.
As a corner. So he was like, oh, Damani, we're not worthy. So it was kind of cool because as a freshman, I was a defensive end, and there was an injury, so I got a chance to start a couple games with a really good group of seniors, including Damani. So I'm not surprised by his success. It was great to see him last night. And, Princeton only has one major that you have to apply to get into, and they have to accept you. It's the Woodrow Wilson School of International Relations. Not many football players do that one. And Damani did. Damani did that major. So if I said this in my tweet, again, at Ross Tucker NFL, write that down, Rick, that if you would have told me that Damani would be the president of an NFL team someday, I would have been like, yeah, I can see that, unless he's like the governor of Washington or the president of the United States. I can absolutely see Damani in that role, and I was happy to see him last night, happy they were able to get that big win, although I wasn't that happy because I do the Even Money betting podcast, and I had teased the Bills down to -1.5 on the show, so that blew up all my teasers, the Bills not being able to bounce back from a loss and beat the Broncos by 2 at home. But kudos to the Broncos. They've won 3 in a row, and I think we learn a lot right now about letting the season play out. I mean, the Broncos defense was like historically bad the first 5 weeks of the season, and now they're actually pretty good.
Ross, 90 minutes away from Bellingham is Seattle. That's where the Seahawks beat the Commanders, and the biggest key is no turnovers for Geno Smith. He had 8 in the previous 4. Their schedule coming up, Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, that's going to be the key, because if they turn it over against those teams, they're going to be in trouble. So Geno did a good job of protecting the ball, Ross, on the weekend.
Rick, are you proud of that segue of like the 90-minute segue? Did you think that was necessary to tie in? I get it.
Hey, 90 minutes.
Head, you're like,
best
okay,
ever.
I want to ask a Seahawk question. Mm-hmm. How do I transition? You could have just asked the Seahawk question, but you wanted there to be like a tie-in. I appreciate that.
They taught that to us in broadcasting school, Ross. Segues, tied in. Segues. Ask Donnie. Donnie knows.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
It was at Princeton.
Donnie.
Yeah.
Rick went to broadcasting school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ross.
He did, believe it or not. And like I say, it wasn't at Princeton.
You can't walk off the street and do our job, Ross.
Do you ever get like letters from them in the mail or the email? Please don't reference us on the air or that you came to our school.
Ross, you can't walk off the street and do our job, Ross. Come on.
Actually, you probably can.
Yeah.
Seahawks.
I'm just in my house right now, looking at a camera. You could literally walk off the street and do this. Just walk into my house and sit in this chair, and you can do it. No, you know what? It's so funny that you say that, Rick, because the Seahawks haven't looked as good the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And I understand why there might be some concerns there. But it's funny because I do this thing now, because I do so much Philadelphia media. I do this thing now called the Ross Report every morning where I talk about the Eagles. And people are upset because the pass defense isn't great or they're not running the ball that well. I just don't care anymore. You know what I mean? Like, do I think it'd be cool if the Seahawks played better and didn't turn it over? Or do I think it'd be good for the Eagles if they had better pass defense or run the ball? Yeah, of course, but just score more points than the other team. I mean, because this week on my power rankings, I had the Ravens #1 last week, and then they find a way to lose at home. Bengals won 4 in a row. Joe Burrow MVP. Loses the Texans at home. The Jaguars, they've won 5 in a row. Smashed by the Niners. Even the Bills last night, right? Like, so all of that stuff about they need to get better at this, get better at that. To me, of course, they're all going to try to do those things. Just figure out whatever it takes to win that game that day.
I love this Detroit coach, Dan Campbell. Gutsy call, 4th and 2 late in the game. They're a fun team to watch right now, the Lions.
I love them. I love the Lions. You know why I love the Lions? There's a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons why I love the Lions, they're fans, man.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, they haven't won a playoff game since 1991.
Wow.
Are you kidding? 30 years, okay? Like a 35-year-old, right? Doesn't even remember that playoff win in 91.
Yep.
They don't even know what it's like to see their team win a playoff game. So I am so happy for those fans because they're great fans. They're loyal. They're diehard. I mean, how many years did we have the conversation? Should the Lions be on Thanksgiving? Should the Lions even have a chance to be on Thanksgiving every year? We're all so sick of watching the Lions. And now we're all like excited to watch the Lions. I love watching the Lions. They're fun. They're exciting. They're aggressive. I mean, they're awesome.
I think that's their only playoff win in the Super Bowl era, Ross.
Is that right?
Yeah. You can use that.
That is unbelievable. They're getting one this year. They're getting a playoff win this year.
Mark that down. Hey, before we let you go, tell us about, and Christmas is just around the corner, my front page story.
Well, since you guys went to journalism school or broadcasting or wherever Rick went, you guys know this. Look, next time for next week, I'll have an example and I'll lift it in front of my head and show it to you guys. Mm-hmm. It's the coolest thing ever. You talk to one of their writers for 10 minutes while you're driving to Bayside Pub or whatever, and Bayside, what's it? I forget. I get
Bayside Oceanfront Resort. They're affiliated with the Waddling Dog.
On Mondays, the Dogside Pub.
Waddling Dog.
Yeah, they'd make this so much easier if the Waddling Dog was at the Bayside Resort.
They're on the same island.
Same island.
All right, so anyway, the point is none of you know what to get your wife or a loved one for Christmas. You have lame ideas every year. Go to myfrontpagestory.com. You talk to a writer for 10 minutes about how awesome your wife is, or you answer an email like 5 questions. They write this unbelievable story, way better than Rick could ever do. It looks like it's on the cover of the newspaper, framed pictures of you and her and the kids, just telling her, hey, babe, I want to do something special. So I had a story written about you. That is so money. It's not even funny. And then when she reads the quotes, like, I never thank her for all the little things. Like, Rick, your quote, I don't understand how she can put up with me every day. And yet she does. She will cry. She'll be like, finally, you understand. You realize what you're putting me through.
Yep.
Myfrontpagestory.com. Write it down. Get your phone out, Rick, that you always have, because you're ready. You're ready for the AHL call-up. Myfrontpagestory.com. Type it in.
Yeah. All right. It's big in Bellingham, Ross. My front page.
Yeah, go to Bellingham.
In Bellingham, which is 90 minutes from Seattle, Donnie.
and 30 minutes from us. Huh? I got it. I know all this stuff.
Thanks for this,
Love
Ross.
It. Hey, by the way, I haven't bashed Rick in a while. So I feel like, good. Rick, I was making up for lost time today a little bit.
This was good. You're not the only one. Trust me. Next week. Thanks, Ross.
See you guys.